Okay, Comic-Con Saturday. Gonna give more of these out. Getting a slightly less sugary coffee today for the ride. Also got a little side pack of giveaways because one of the issues that I experienced Wednesday and last year is being in a situation where maybe I could give some away, but they're in a box in my backpack and I can't get it easily, so I got a couple quick ones to flip out if I need to. Made it to a parking deck. Prepaid for a parking deck that was a little bit closer than last year. Not as close as I was the other night, but it's near Petco Park, which is like a trolley stop down from the convention center, but it was all gated up and you couldn't get in. It's like passes only, and there was no place to scan the barcode. We drove around, we spent like 15 minutes driving in circles trying to figure out how to get in, and eventually we saw somebody just getting in. We're like, oh, and there's like an intercom, and then you talk to the security officer and we're like, we got a pass. We're like, okay, go ahead. They didn't even scan it. Like, we could have just said it and they let us in. So it's this weird, like, one hand doesn't know what the other's doing. So we're here, but it was weird. It was very weird. So here we see a Godzilla train on this, or monorail, whatever you want to call it, tram. They're all decorated, and this is something they do every year, but this one was awesome because it had Monster Arts and Godsy Burst and Minus Zero and the downtown gas lamp and all the normal stuff you'd see at Comic-Con. This is the first time I've done the tram this way, and I like it. It's $250 for a one-way pass. I probably could have optimized the, money for it, but regardless, the show floor consistently this year seemed less busy, and I talked to some artists in Artist Alley who said they were doing well, and Artist Alley always seemed jam-packed, but doing better than last year even. And the one thing I was thinking is that there is maybe less big lines for exclusives. Maybe the exclusives this year were a little less coveted, maybe because they were selling out before the end of the show, a lot of them, which usually there's some amount you can get later, but that may have resulted in less of those big, huge lines wrapping around everything, adding to the clusterness. But this was Saturday, and it was not terribly busy. This is a weird con for me, and this is coming from the perspective of someone who's gone to just about every San Diego Comic-Con for the last, say, 15 years. So been here about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. Started at one end of the con and been working our way over. It's been a lot of like indie press, things like that. Picked up a few things. Just hit the Image booth and stopped and got a $15 terrible small pizza. And now we're going to keep moving on, hit Boom in a few other places and move further across. Years I missed one or two during COVID and when my kid was born, but it was fine, but it seemed very chill and low-key. And I don't know if everyone felt this way, but it seemed a little less crowded on the show floor. There were things happening, but less big, huge. It usually seems like everywhere you turn, there's something huge happening. Oh, there's this new toy announcement. Look at this comic creator just showed up and started signing. Oh, man, Robert Downey Jr. just stepped on the show floor, whatever the thing is. And there seemed to be less of that. And some of the booths that have been there previously were like a little bit smaller, and some of the booths were showing off. Like a good example is Nacelle, is a toy company that they were reviving Sectars, and they had the mounts, like the big puppet monsters that they would ride, and they showed them last year, and pre-orders were up. And those have not shipped yet a year later. And in the case, this is the case, that's all they still had. Nothing new, and the things they showed last year hadn't shipped. And then you see these Power Lord prototypes you're looking at here. They showed these a year ago. Same thing, no movement. And they did have this big Bridge Enterprise thing. That was pretty cool. And so there was things, but, and I'm not meaning to pick on Nacelle because there's other companies similarly where it's like, oh, there's not a lot of new stuff. The Image booth seemed a little bit smaller. I was trying to get some Daniel Warren Johnson, the Chain-Kata book, and they only had a couple hundred every morning, and so it was just like impossible to get. But it was impossible to get in a way where usually it's like, oh, get online, try, there's a lottery, come back, and it was just sort of like, no, it's done. And it's sort of good and bad. It's good because there aren't those crazy lines blocking everything off, but it's like, oh, well, there's not a lot of excitement, there's no reason to come back to the booth, it's just done. They sold out in 20 minutes in the morning, and that's it, and I'm not complaining. It was just an interesting, different vibe. That being said, it was chill. I was less stressed, less exhausted than I usually am. I didn't feel the need to like stay to the very last second and look at everything I possibly could. I mean, I did look at everything I possibly could. As you can see here, there's a lot of cool stuff to see. And I don't mean to seem ungrateful for being there, and I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I'm there, and I'm going again next year, but it just had a different vibe. That's the way I keep putting it. Like, had I never been before, I'd be like, this is amazing. But having been so much, I just felt like it was a little different. Now, that being said, I was able to do things I couldn't normally do. I talked to a lot more artists and smaller press people and things like that. And I talked to Boom and IDW, and I got some contacts for people that maybe I could try to submit to get variant covers and things like that, and was able to have like actual conversations that weren't too rushed. And generally, I enjoyed my time there, but like I said, it just had a different vibe.
I'm glad you're moving forward.
So I made an impulse buy. It might have been a mistake. I got a very expensive, very large Voltron figure. Hadn't bought anything for myself. Picked up things with Big Dog, the kid, whatever. Skipping on things that maybe I would have gotten in the past. Things I was like, maybe. Didn't buy anything, really. And made up for it by spending too much money on a big thing that would have been impossible to carry around the show floor. So Tech Advisor Rizuki went and sat in a panel. I came to the car, which luckily isn't too far, especially with the train. And now I'm on my way back. But I also got to unload my packs and everything else. So I'm feeling very light and fancy free. So the other aspect, for those that don't know, I am an artist. I'm a comic artist. I sell prints. I do shows all the time, conventions that is. And so I look at it from that eye as well. I have tabled at San Diego Comic-Con once. A couple of years ago, I did it in small press. Didn't go well. It's an expensive table. If memory serves, it was like $1,200 or something like that. And I did make my money back, and I technically made profit. But I was there for 5 days working long hours, not including setup and takedown. And like when you tallied it all up, the profit I made was like $1 an hour or something like that. And looking at it this year, it kind of matches what I've thought before, where the small press booths on the main floor theoretically seem to have better placement than Artist Alley because they're in the thick of it next to all the big booths, but like there are usually not a lot of people in there. And here's the thing, it's terrible to admit, but as a small comic creator and as an independent artist and a small artist, I don't like going down there because I'm kind of interested in seeing what's going on, but it just reeks of desperation and puppy dog eyes and, oh, you paused for half a second at my booth, I'm going to launch into a 3-paragraph description of my story. And people don't want that, or most people don't. I mean, there are times and places, if you're at a library con or if it's, a smaller con, people who are, oh, what's this book about? Let me know, but it's everything's so hectic and chaotic and there's so much going on that I don't know what the answer is, because you got to pitch your book, you got to let people know what it is, but people don't want to hear it. And it's also, again, it's like this gauntlet of one after the other, back and forth. And if you're looking at one side and you turn away, then the other person might be offended. And a few times I kind of stopped and touched a book or looked at a book and hovered too long and sometimes it's like, hey, how you doing? And that's fine. But more often than not, it was like, what do you like? What kind of books do you like? And start pitching it. And I don't know what the answer is, because you got to sell your book, but it's too much. And it's especially when it's like a row of people like that, and it's several rows of people like that. And so I ended up not really getting much there. And with some random polka, I don't know what I'm listening to, we're closing out Saturday at Comic-Con. Here in the parking deck, which was difficult to get into, difficult to get out of, but conveniently close. I'm tired, but I'm not tired. What? See you later.